Generic YouTube greeting, welcome to Play on Wheels. I am your host, Desert Eagle Ryu. Today we're going to be talking about the Necrochasm. This is the weapon you are rewarded with after a long series of tasks, including randomly finding the base form of this weapon in the open world, defeating Crota on hard twice per week, and eventually the upgrade material for this will drop, hopefully if you're lucky, or unlucky as I will get to later, and you'll be able to upgrade the gun you found previously into the Necrochasm. As far as what I like on this gun, it looks just like Murmur and the other Hive weapons you're used to seeing by now if you have the Dark Below DLC. I was a fan of Murmur's design since I first saw it, so naturally I like this weapon. It looks cool. Pretty much it looks exactly like Murmur, except for the green fire you might notice on the side there. Another thing I like about this weapon is when you get a precision kill with it, it can sometimes, more often than not, cause a Curse Thrall explosion and take out any nearby enemies. And that's about it, actually, for what I like on this weapon, or at least what stands out. However, the bad parts about this weapon are fairly numerous. First off, let's start with the weapon class that it is. It is an auto rifle, but it's one of the extremely fast firing and low damage auto rifles that are, for some reason, very prevalent in the game right now. I really don't have too much of an issue with this weapon class. However, with those weapons, they usually come with a very large magazine of 60 rounds or more, typically. However, as you can see, this gun's magazine size is only 42. That's extremely low for a weapon of this class. With such a small magazine size, you'll be reloading quite a bit, and it gets really frustrating because you'll have to basically use an entire mag to take out any enemy that isn't a really low-level drag or a vandal. Another thing I'm not a huge fan of on this weapon, of all things, is the optics. They're huge. It's just like Murmur's optics, and it's just like the Husk of the Pit and Eidolon ally of this gun's previous forms. However, with Murmur, the sights really aren't that much of an issue because it's a fusion rifle. You can just aim it where you want it to go, and it'll hit the target most of the time. However, with an auto rifle like this, those kind of wonky, huge sights that block up most of the screen are kind of annoying, even though the reticle in the middle is very distinguishable and you can easily pick your target with it. It's just not a personal preference of mine to have huge optics like that block out a lot of your peripheral vision. Probably what I dislike most about this gun is something I mentioned at the beginning: the extremely long process you have to go to even attempt to get this gun. The first step in this process is basically just killing Hive. And if you get lucky, one of them will drop the Husk of the Pit, which is this gun's base form. The Husk of the Pit is a common rarity auto rifle, and it's terrible. There's just not much else I can say about it. It is a common weapon, so you wouldn't expect it to be great, but this thing is pretty bad. The next thing you're tasked to do with the Husk of the Pit is kill roughly 500 Hive with it, and after that happens, you'll get the gun's one upgrade slot filled up. After that, you need to buy, I believe it's an embalming orb, or an item similar to that from Eris Morn, which you can only do after you're a certain rank with her, and then you upgrade the Husk of the Pit with said item, and it turns into the Eidolon ally. The Eidolon ally is a legendary class auto rifle, which is still, like the Husk of the Pit, a bullet-spewing low-damage gun, and the magazine is slightly larger, I believe, than the Husk of the Pit. Not by much. Eidolon ally might be legendary, but it's still pretty terrible. Nothing really unique about it, except for the fact that it's an auto rifle that looks like Murmur, and that's pretty much all I can say about that one. Once you've gone through the process of leveling up the Eidolon ally, which is just as long of a process as leveling any legendary gun, you're basically stuck until you can defeat Crota on hard mode, while you already own the Glowhu armor shader, and have already beat him on hard mode once that week, and hope that the special item called the Crux of Crota drops from him, and that's what you use to upgrade the Eidolon ally into this gun you see here, the Necrochasm. I think for me at least, and I would believe for most other people that do own this gun, the most frustrating thing about it is how hard it is to get it, and how underwhelming it is when you do get it. It's nice that when you upgrade the Eidolon ally into the Necrochasm, its stat trees are already fully leveled from the Eidolon ally, so you don't have to go and level it up again, which is kind of nice. However, the weapon as a whole is just, it's very weak feeling. It doesn't feel like it's very good and powerful, probably because it isn't. and it's just really tedious to get, and it doesn't feel worth it at the end. So this gun basically has 3 main perks instead of just 2. The Cascade will increase the reload speed of your weapon when you get a melee kill. The Cursebringer, which is what this gun is known for, basically triggers a Curse Thrall explosion when you kill an enemy with a precision shot. This isn't an all-the-time thing, but it does happen more often than not. At least, that's what I've noticed. The final main perk is the Rangefinder, which increases the weapon's effective range while you aim it. The range is abysmal on this thing anyway, and I guess there's a slight difference when you aim it. I haven't really noticed, but that's that. And now what I've really been looking forward to. We're going to take the Necrochasm to the Crucible. It's not that great in PvE, and I don't expect it to be that great in PvP. Actually, I expect it to be much worse in PvP. So let's see what happens. The rules of this PvP test are just like the other 2 weapons I've done so far. I am only allowed to use the Necrochasm, and I am only allowed to melee after I've gotten a shot off with the Necrochasm. I can't use supers, grenades, or any other type of weapon. Just the Necrochasm and the occasional melee. I don't really have any high hopes for this gun in PvP, but to give it a fair shot, let's see how this goes.
Rumble.
And there's only 5 people.
You're in the lead. Gained the lead. You're in the lead. Gained the lead. Lost. Ammo available. Embrace the chaos of battle, or you'll never know victory.
And there you have it. Actually not too bad. I almost went positive. Actually did a lot better than I thought I would with that gun. Overall, the Necrochasm just feels very underwhelming and underpowered, especially considering what you have to go through to get this thing. It's pretty useless in PvE outside of those choice horde encounters where you can just get them in the head real quick and take out the entire mob. Other than that, you might as well be shooting paper clips at enemies with this thing, because that's what it feels like you're doing. I feel like this gun is even worse in PvP, especially due to its really low range, really low magazine and really high rate of fire, which makes it quite difficult to control unless you have extensive experience with these types of auto rifles. Basically, in my opinion, this gun needs some love. It needs to be buffed big time, and there are two things which I definitely think need to happen. The first of which is this gun needs a magazine size boost to at least 65 or 70, preferably higher. That would definitely make it stand out amongst the high rate of fire auto rifles. As for the second thing, I would really be okay with two separate options. The first being have the Cursebringer perk activate every time you get a headshot, or keep the activation rate of Cursebringer the same and have it also apply to just any kill in general, not just precision shots. I feel like those changes would make this gun actually feel more like an actual exotic weapon. And that wraps up this video on the Necrochasm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.